Okay, boys, girls and gastronauts, I'm coming to the end of my preserved chilli sauce, my hot pepper sauce. And just so you don't have to watch a grown man cry, I'm going to make some fresh and show you how to do it. This is unlike my West Indian hot pepper sauce that I made earlier, in that this one is designed for bottling. This one is designed for preserving, and it will develop flavour the longer you keep it, but we'll get into that in a minute. Right, let me take you through the ingredients. Right, I've got about 330 grams of bonnet peppers. I've got 100 grams of these nice, I think these are Kenyan, these ones, red chilies for flavour. I've got a small or a medium onion, which I'm going to add. I've got 1.5 cloves, 1.5 heads of garlic. I've got about 2 ice cube sized pieces of ginger, which is fresh ginger, which is simply just frozen up. I can't get bandanya, I can't get shado beni for love nor money, so I use the stalks of coriander, fresh coriander, which I've frozen. You still see the rubber band on that one, look, which I've frozen, and I'll add that. I've also got a few sprigs of thyme, which I also keep frozen in my freezer. I've got some xanthan gum, which stabilises the liquid, so you don't get this pooling effect where everything sinks to the bottom. It just stabilises things. Got some salt. I've got some sugar, because I always add sugar wherever I put chili into something. And I've got some cider vinegar. This is a 500ml bottle of cider vinegar, so it's ½ a litre, and that should be enough for this recipe. I've also got, just to show you, I've got a chili sauce bottle which I washed and sterilised, and I've also got a funnel to feed it with. Alright, I'll take you quickly through the chopping and preparation. All I've done with the chilies is I've simply just pulled the stem off them, and they're ready to go. They'll just, with a small chop, they'll go straight into the food processor, as will the onion, and I'll prepare the garlic and everything and then get back to you. Alright, I've got all that chopped up ready to go. In go the herbs, get those in, don't waste the flavour. All the garlic, all the onion and the Kenyan peppers, and I won't cram this way too much for now. I'll put a glug of the vinegar in, because we're going to use all that. Put a glug of that in, and then I'll give it a whiz. I'll spare you the noise from that. Alright, I've got that down to that consistency. I can start shoveling in some of my bonnet peppers. All nice and good. A bit more of that. Uses a lot of vinegar, this, because it is a preserve. I'll give that a whiz and get back to you. Alright, my first batch now I'm going to add to my large saucepan, my stock pot, because this one we're going to heat. We're going to cook this one. Alright, and then I'm going to get the rest of those peppers in there with the rest of the vinegar, whiz it up, and I'll get back to you. Alright, that's all whizzed up, and it's still fairly rough, but that won't matter while we cook it, because it's going to get blended again after we've cooked it. One little tip, that vinegar bottle is actually quite a nice bottle to use for your sauce. So because it's freshly used, you don't need to sterilise it. It's only had vinegar in it, and you can just use it straight away. So that's just a little tip there. I'm now going to bring that on the heat, put that on the heat, and bring it to a boil, and then simmer it for 10 minutes. That's all we'll need. So bring it to the boil and simmer it for 10 minutes. I'll just bring that off the heat a little bit, just so I can show you without adjusting my cameras all over the place. And as you see, it's still fairly chunky. I have a hand blender, which is Super Speed Professional one, and it'll go in there and it'll blend that up lovely. I'll show you that later. But you can just ladle this out once it's finished simmering into your liquidizer. Make sure the lid's on tight because you don't want hot liquid splashing around, and blitz it that way. You take it down as fine as you like it. For this particular sauce I like it quite smooth, but I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, towards the end of the cooking process I'm going to add a generous teaspoon of salt and the same of sugar. I always add sugar when I'm adding chilli. It's a thing I got from my Asian friends. They all seem to like to do it that way too. Especially the Chinese, they always add a little bit of sugar when they add chilli. Alright, back on the heat just for the last couple of minutes, just to let that stir in, and I'll get back to you. Alright, I've given it the good news with my stick blender, and it's now blended down to a fairly thick sauce. Now, if we leave that as it is, eventually the solid matter in that will settle and the liquid will raise to the top, so you'll get some separation. So in order to stabilise that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit xanthan gum. You've seen me use it before on some other recipes, and literally just enough to pick up in your fingernail is all you need, like that. Get that in there and just make sure that that's blended in fully. I'll get back to you when that's done. Alright, now it's there, it's ready to bottle up. So all you do, roughly at the end of your blending session, it will be roughly down to about 80 degrees Celsius or bottling temperature. So we can just carefully, making sure that everything you touch with it has been sterilised, is we can load it up into our jars. And there we go. That's a handsome looking sauce, right? So get that on, and always keep it in a dark place until you use it, and then try and keep it in a dark place if possible. The reason we do that is to stop the sun from the sunlight. You know, your ultraviolet light will diminish the beautiful colour of that sauce. Alright, just before I go, show you my yield from that batch, and it's 500 ml. It's around about a litre of sauce altogether, and I've put some into these rather attractive bottles, and I've got that little bit left over which is going in my fridge because that's mine. Love that stuff, and that one will be mine as well, but I'll probably give these two away to friends. And what better way of thanking a friend than giving them your time. You know, you're giving them a little bit of your time and your love that goes into making this. So I can't think of a better gift you could give to a foodie friend than something spicy and delicious like this. Use it as you would any West Indian hot pepper sauce, and it will keep virtually indefinitely. But try and keep it in a dark place until you use it, and then, you know, try and keep it out of the sunlight as much as you can, because you want to preserve that beautiful colour. Enjoy!